Dr. Zefix's four arms moved quickly across the medical console as another alarm rang through the veterinary clinic. The tall, blue-skinned alien had seen many emergencies during his 20 years working on Harmony's Gate space station, but something felt different about this call. "Doctor, we have an urgent situation," came the voice through the communication device. "Human cargo ship requesting immediate medical assistance for an injured creature." Zefix paused. Humans were still new to the galactic community, having joined only 5 years ago. Most species found them strange and unpredictable. They seemed to have no proper sense of danger. "What type of creature?" Zefix asked, reaching for his medical bag. "That's the problem, Doctor. Our scans show it's a Class 7 apex predator. Unknown species. The automated systems are going crazy with warning signals." Zefix's main heart skipped a beat. Class 7 meant extremely dangerous. These were creatures that could kill multiple beings without effort. Why would humans have such a thing on their ship? "How did they capture it?" he asked. "They say they found it floating in space, badly injured. They brought it aboard to help it." Zefix stared at the communication device. Help it? A Class 7 predator? The humans truly had no survival instincts. Every species in the galaxy knew to avoid such creatures. Even the warrior races like the Krathari would think twice before getting close to a Class 7. "Doctor, are you there?" the voice asked. "Yes, I'm coming. Prepare the emergency medical bay and make sure security is ready." Zefix gathered his team of 3 assistants. They were all different species, but they shared the same worried look when he explained the situation. "A Class 7? Whispered Mira, his Centauri assistant. Her cat-like ears flattened against her head. "Doctor, maybe we should refuse this case." "We took an oath to help all living beings," Zefix replied, though his own voice shook slightly. "But everyone stays behind the safety barriers." The team made their way to Docking Bay 7. Even from outside, they could hear strange sounds coming from the human ship, deep growls and what sounded like metal being scraped by claws. 3 humans stood outside their ship, and Zefix was surprised by how calm they looked. Most species would be running away or calling for military help. Instead, these humans seemed almost relaxed. The leader stepped forward. She was average height for a human, with dark hair tied back and wearing a simple cargo ship uniform. Her name tag read Captain S. Chen. "Dr. Zefix, thank you for coming so quickly." "Captain Chen, my scans show you have a very dangerous creature aboard. How many casualties?" 3 crew members have minor injuries from when we first brought it aboard. Nothing serious." Zefix's eyes widened. Minor injuries from a Class 7 encounter? That seemed impossible. These creatures were known to kill with single strikes. "Captain, I must ask, why did you rescue this creature? Your species is new to space travel. Perhaps you don't understand how dangerous it is." Chen smiled, which confused Zefix even more. "We couldn't just leave it to die. It was barely alive when we found it. But it's a predator, a killer. So are sharks back on Earth, but that doesn't mean we let them suffer." Zefix had no idea what a shark was, but Chen's calm attitude made him feel uneasy. Either humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He wasn't sure which was worse. "Doctor," said Jorik, his Volcani assistant, "the creature's bio-readings are showing high stress levels. Its heart rate is elevated, and brain activity suggests extreme agitation." "See," Zefix said to Chen, "it's preparing to attack. We should sedate it from outside the ship." "It's not preparing to attack," Chen replied. "It's scared and in pain. Big difference." Before Zefix could ask what she meant, another human crew member approached. "Captain, it's getting more restless. I think the new smells are bothering it." Chen nodded. "We should get started then. Doctor, shall we go inside?" Zefix's 3 assistants stepped back. Even his security escort looked nervous. The idea of entering a ship with a conscious Class 7 predator went against every safety protocol in the galaxy. "Perhaps we could use the medical transporters to move it to our facility?" Zephyx suggested. "Too risky in its condition," Chen said. "The transportation stress might kill it. We'll have to work in our cargo hold." Zephyx looked at his team. They all seemed ready to run. He couldn't blame them. His own species, the Thylorians, had evolved from prey animals. Every instinct told him to flee. But he was a doctor. He had sworn to help all creatures, no matter how dangerous. Taking a deep breath, he followed Chen toward the ship's entrance. "Just remember," Chen said as they walked, "try to move slowly and keep your voice quiet. Sudden movements will startle it." Startle it? Zephyx thought. The creature was a Class 7 predator, not a nervous pet. But he nodded anyway. As they entered the ship, the sounds got louder. Deep, rumbling growls echoed through the corridors. The smell hit Zephyx immediately, a wild predatory scent that made his legs want to run. "It's just ahead," Chen said, still impossibly calm. Zephyx gripped his medical scanner tighter. In a few moments, he would face one of the galaxy's most dangerous types of creatures. He only hoped they would all survive the encounter. The cargo hold doors opened with a soft hiss, and Zephyx got his first look at what the humans had rescued. The cargo hold was dimly lit, but Zephyx could see the creature clearly. His 4 hearts nearly stopped beating at the sight. The beast was enormous, easily 6 meters long from nose to tail. Its body was covered in dark scales that seemed to shift color in the light. Powerful muscles moved under its skin as it breathed. The head was massive, with a mouthful of teeth that looked like they could cut through metal. Yellow eyes, each as large as Zephyx's hand, watched every movement in the room. But it was the claws that made Zephyx want to run. Each one was as long as his forearm and looked razor-sharp. Deep gouges in the metal floor showed where the creature had tried to grip the surface. "By the ancient stars," whispered Mira behind him. "Look at the size of those teeth." The creature was lying on its side, with several obvious wounds along its body. Dark blood had dried around the injuries. Despite its pain, the beast's eyes remained alert and focused on the newcomers. "The wounds look deep," Chen said, standing much closer to the creature than any sane being should. "We did basic first aid, but it needs proper medical care." Zephyx forced himself to move forward, medical scanner in hand. He had seen dangerous animals before, but nothing like this. Every step felt like walking toward his own death. The creature's eyes locked onto him. A low growl started deep in its chest, growing louder as Zephyx approached. The sound made his bones vibrate. "Easy there," Chen said to the creature, her voice soft and gentle. "These are friends. They want to help." Zephyx almost laughed at the absurdity. This monster didn't understand language. It only understood hunting and killing. But he continued forward, scanner ready. When he was 3 meters away, the creature suddenly lifted its head. The growl became a roar that filled the entire cargo hold. Massive claws extended, scraping against the floor with a sound like breaking glass. Zephyx stumbled backward, his scanner falling from his shaking hands. The creature's mouth opened, showing rows of deadly teeth. Saliva dripped onto the floor as it prepared to strike. "Stay back!" Zephyx shouted to his team. "It's going to attack!" The creature tried to stand, but collapsed with a grunt of pain. Still, it kept its fierce gaze on Zephyx, growling with each breath. The bio readings on his fallen scanner showed stress levels that were off the charts. "We need to sedate it immediately," Jorik called from the safety of the doorway. "Full dose of morphine 7. That might kill it in its weakened state," Mira added. "But it's too dangerous to treat while conscious." Zephyx backed toward the door, every instinct screaming at him to run. The creature was clearly preparing to attack. Its breathing was fast and shallow, its muscles were tense, ready to spring. Everything about its posture said, killer ready to strike. But then something impossible happened. Captain Chen stepped forward, not back toward safety, but forward toward the creature. "Captain, no!" Zephyx yelled. "It will kill you!" Chen ignored him and kept walking toward the beast. The creature's roar grew louder, but Chen didn't stop. She moved slowly and calmly, as if approaching a sleeping pet instead of a deadly predator. "It's just frightened," she said. Zephyx stared at her in disbelief. Frightened? The creature was a Class 7 apex predator. It was the thing that frightened others, not something that felt fear itself. "Captain Chen, please step away from the creature," he called, his voice shaking. "Your scanners clearly show it's aggressive and preparing to attack." "No," Chen replied, still moving closer. "Look at it properly. Really look." The creature's roar died down to a growl, but its yellow eyes remained fixed on Chen. Zephyx waited for the attack that would surely come. No creature that dangerous would let prey get so close. "See how it's positioned?" Chen said, pointing at the beast. "It's not preparing to leap forward. It's trying to protect its injured side." Zephyx looked more carefully. The creature was indeed favoring one side, the side with the worst wounds. But that didn't change anything. It was still a killer. "And listen to the vocalizations," Chen continued. "That's not a hunting call or a territorial challenge. Those are stress signals." Now Chen was only 2 meters from the creature, close enough for it to kill her with one swipe of its claws. Zephyx prepared to watch a human die in front of him. Instead, something amazing happened. The creature's growling grew quieter. Its breathing began to slow. The tense muscles in its shoulders relaxed slightly. "How?" Zephyx whispered. Chen knelt down, still maintaining distance but no longer backing away. "Because it knows I'm not a threat. I'm not showing fear or aggression. I'm showing calm." The creature watched her with those massive yellow eyes. For the first time since they'd entered the cargo hold, it didn't look like it was about to attack. It looked tired and hurt. "This is impossible," Mira said from the doorway. "Predators don't respond to calm behavior from prey species." "Who says we're prey?" Chen asked with a small smile. "Maybe it knows something you don't." Zephyx watched in amazement as the impossible scene continued. A human, one of the newest and physically weakest species in the galaxy, had somehow calmed a Class 7 predator through nothing but body language and tone of voice. "Doctor," Chen called softly, "I think you can approach now. But move slowly and keep your voice quiet." Zephyx looked at his team. They all wore the same expression of shock and disbelief. What they were seeing went against everything they knew about dangerous creatures. But the scanner readings didn't lie. The creature's stress levels were dropping. Its heart rate was slowing. Whatever Chen had done, it was working. Zephyx picked up his fallen scanner and took a careful step forward. The creature's eyes shifted to him, but there was no growl this time, just watchful attention. "That's it," Chen encouraged. "It just needed to know we're here to help, not hurt." Another step, then another. Zephyx couldn't believe he was actually approaching a Class 7 predator that was still conscious and unrestrained. Everything in his biology told him this was suicide, but the human was right. The creature was just frightened. Zephyx took another careful step forward, his scanner beeping softly as it analyzed the creature. The readings were strange. While the beast was clearly a powerful predator, its current behavior patterns showed something unexpected. Defensive positioning rather than aggressive intent. "I don't understand," Zephyx said quietly to Chen. "How did you know it wasn't going to attack?" Chen remained crouched near the creature, her movements slow and deliberate. "Experience. On Earth, we work with dangerous animals all the time. You learn to read the difference between I want to hurt you and I don't want to be hurt." The creature's massive head turned toward Chen's voice. Its breathing was steadier now, though still labored from pain. One of the wounds along its side was bleeding again from its earlier movement. "But this is a Class 7 predator," Zephyx insisted, moving close enough to get better scanner readings. "These creatures are killing machines. They don't feel fear." "Everything feels fear," Chen replied. "Fear keeps you alive. Even the biggest predator on Earth, the great white shark, will back down when it feels threatened or confused." Zephyx had no idea what a great white shark was, but he was beginning to understand Chen's point. His scanner showed the creature's brain activity clearly. The patterns weren't those of a hunter preparing to kill. They matched the readings he'd seen in frightened animals brought to his clinic. "Look at its body language," Chen continued, gesturing toward the creature. "See how it keeps glancing toward the door? It's looking for escape routes. And watch its tail. It's tucked close to its body for protection, not positioned to strike." Zephyx studied the creature more carefully. Chen was right. The beast's posture was defensive. It was trying to make itself smaller, protecting its injured parts while keeping watch for threats. "This is fascinating," Mira called from the doorway. "The human can read xenobiological stress signals across species barriers." "It's not that complicated," Chen said. "Fear and pain look similar across most species. Humans just got good at recognizing it." "Why?" Zephyx asked, as he slowly moved his medical scanner over the creature's wounds. To his amazement, the beast remained still, only watching him with those large yellow eyes. "Survival," Chen explained. "Early humans were persistence hunters. We weren't fast or strong, so we had to be smart. We learned to understand other animals' behavior to predict what they'd do next." The scanner revealed extensive injuries along the creature's left side. 3 deep gashes that looked like claw marks from an even larger predator, several smaller cuts, and what appeared to be a fractured rib. "But humans are new to space," Zephyx said, preparing his medical tools. "How do you know this works with alien species?" Chen smiled. "Because some things are universal: pain, fear, the need for safety, these cross-species lines. This big guy isn't much different from an injured tiger or bear back home." "Tigers and bears?" Zephyx asked, applying a local anesthetic to the worst wound. The creature flinched, but didn't pull away. "Earth predators. Humans have been rescuing and treating injured predators for thousands of years. Lions, wolves, even crocodiles. We've learned that most aggressive behavior comes from fear or protection instincts, not actual malice." This was beyond Zephyx's understanding. His people, like most galactic species, avoided predators entirely. The idea of deliberately helping them seemed insane. "But why take the risk?" he asked, beginning to clean the creature's wounds. "Why not just leave dangerous animals alone?" "Because they're living beings," Chen said simply. "And because understanding predators taught us something important. Sometimes the most dangerous-looking creatures just need help." The creature made a low sound, different from its earlier growls. This sound was almost grateful. Zephyx had heard similar vocalizations from patients who felt relief when pain was reduced. "How many humans work with predators?" Zephyx asked, fascinated despite his fear. "Thousands. We have people who study sharks in the ocean, who track and protect wolves, who rescue injured bears. Some humans choose to work with the most dangerous animals on the planet." Jorik finally stepped into the cargo hold, though he stayed near the wall. "This is incredible, Doctor. The creature's stress hormones are at normal levels now. Its heart rate has stabilized." Chen nodded. Once it realized we weren't threats, it could focus on healing instead of defense. Zephyx continued his work, applying healing gel to the wounds and preparing a pain management injection. The creature remained calm, occasionally making those soft sounds when the treatment reduced its discomfort. "There's something else," Chen added. "Humans evolved alongside predators. We learned to live with them, not just run from them. On Earth, the relationship between humans and predators is complex. Sometimes we're prey, sometimes we're competitors, but often we're just coexisting. Your species wasn't always the dominant one on your planet? Mira asked, moving slightly closer. Not at all. For most of human history, we were food for various predators. But instead of just being afraid, we studied them. We learned their patterns, their needs, their weaknesses. Eventually, we became the dominant species not by being the strongest, but by being the smartest. The creature's wounds were responding well to treatment. The bleeding had stopped, and the healing gel was accelerating tissue repair. But what amazed Zephyx most was how cooperative the patient was being. It trusts you, he said to Chen. It trusts that we're trying to help. Animals are good at reading intentions. This one knows we're not here to hurt it. But how can you be sure it won't attack once it feels better? Chen was quiet for a moment, studying the creature's face. Look at its eyes. Really look. Zephyx followed her gaze. The yellow eyes were still alert, but there was something else there, something that looked almost intelligent. It's watching our work, Chen said. See how it follows your movements with the medical tools? It understands that what we're doing is helping. That level of awareness suggests higher intelligence than your scans indicated. Zephyx paused in his work. She was right. The creature wasn't just enduring treatment. It was observing and learning. Its gaze shifted between the medical tools and the wounds, as if making connections. I think, Chen said quietly, we might have rescued something special. 2 hours later, Zephyx stepped back to examine his work. The creature's wounds were properly cleaned and sealed with bioregenerative patches. The fractured rib had been set and would heal naturally. Most importantly, the beast was no longer in obvious pain. Vital signs are stable, Jorik reported from his position by the monitoring equipment. Brain activity suggests the patient is resting comfortably. The creature had indeed relaxed significantly. It lay on its side, breathing steadily, occasionally lifting its massive head to watch their activities. When Chen moved around the cargo hold, the yellow eyes followed her movements with what could only be described as interest. I've never seen anything like this, Zephyx admitted, packing his medical tools. In 20 years of veterinary work, I've never had a Class 7 predator remain calm during treatment without heavy sedation. That's because you've been treating them like dangerous animals instead of patients, Chen said, offering the creature a small amount of water from a portable container. To everyone's amazement, the beast carefully lapped at the water without making any threatening moves toward Chen's exposed hand. Explain to me again how humans developed this ability, Mira said, finally entering the cargo hold properly. Because what I'm witnessing contradicts everything we know about predator-prey relationships. Chen sat down near the creature's head, careful to stay where it could see her clearly. It started with wolves, actually. About 15,000 years ago, some wolves began following human hunting parties. They weren't hunting us. They were scavenging our leftovers. The creature made a soft rumbling sound and shifted slightly closer to Chen. She reached out slowly and, incredibly, touched its scaled snout. The beast didn't pull away. Eventually, humans and wolves formed partnerships. The wolves helped us hunt, and we shared the food. Over time, we bred them into dogs, animals that could understand human emotions and commands. You domesticated predators? Zephyx asked, hardly believing it. We partnered with them. Then we applied those same principles to other species. Humans today work with dolphins, elephants, even some species of sharks. We learned that most animals respond to consistent, calm behavior. Jorik was running continuous scans. Doctor, you need to see this. The creature's brain patterns are showing increased activity in areas associated with social bonding. Social bonding? Zephyx moved to check the readings himself. The patterns were unmistakable. It's forming an attachment to Captain Chen. That's impossible, Mira said. Apex predators are solitary creatures. They don't form social bonds with other species. Earth predators do, Chen replied, gently stroking the creature's scales. Wolves, lions, even crocodiles can form bonds with humans who treat them properly. It's about trust and mutual respect. The creature's rumbling grew louder, but it was clearly a sound of contentment rather than aggression. When Chen stopped petting, it nudged her hand gently with its snout. This is unprecedented, Zephix said, watching the interaction. No galactic species has ever reported successfully bonding with a Class 7 predator. Maybe other species never tried, Chen suggested. Maybe they were too afraid to get close enough to learn. With good reason, Jorik pointed out. These creatures are incredibly dangerous. So are human children, Chen said with a laugh. But we don't abandon them when they're hurt. Over the next several hours, Zephix watched as Chen continued to interact with the creature. She talked to it in soft tones, brought it food and water, and even managed to encourage it to stand and move around to prevent muscle stiffness. How do you know what it needs? Zephix asked, as Chen guided the creature through gentle exercises. Same way you know what any patient needs. You watch for signs of discomfort, fatigue, hunger. You pay attention to body language and vocalizations. This one is actually very expressive once you know what to look for. The creature had indeed proven to be remarkably communicative. Different sounds seemed to indicate different needs. A low rumble for contentment, a higher-pitched whine for discomfort, and a soft, chirping noise that appeared to be a request for attention. The intelligence readings are off the charts, Mira reported. This creature is showing problem-solving abilities equal to some spacefaring species. Then why was it classified as a simple predator? Zephix wondered. Because whoever made the classification never got close enough to study it properly, Chen said. They saw teeth and claws and made assumptions. As if to prove her point, the creature picked up one of Zephix's medical tools in its mouth and gently placed it in the medical kit. It had been watching them pack up and apparently wanted to help. Did it just? Jorik stared in disbelief. Helped clean up? Yes. Chen scratched behind what might have been the creature's ears. Smart, isn't it? Zephix sat down heavily on a nearby crate. Captain Chen, you've just revolutionized everything we know about apex predators. This creature isn't just intelligent. It's cooperative, social, and capable of interspecies communication. Most creatures are if you give them a chance, Chen replied. Humans learned that lesson long ago. We just had to teach ourselves to see past the teeth and claws to the individual underneath. The creature had settled back down, but kept its head raised, watching the conversation as if it understood they were talking about it. What happens now? Mira asked. We can't keep it on the station. We're going to find its home, Chen said firmly. Based on where we found it and the galactic star charts, I think we can locate its species' home system. You're going to return it? Of course. It doesn't belong in a cage or a lab. It belongs with its own kind. The creature made a soft sound and gently touched Chen's arm with its snout. The gesture was unmistakably affectionate. I think, Zephix said quietly, we've all learned something important today about the nature of fear, trust, and understanding. Chen smiled and patted the creature's massive head. Sometimes the scariest things just need someone to see past the scary parts. 3 days later, Zephix stood in the observation deck of the human cargo ship, watching something that would have seemed impossible a week earlier. The creature, whom Chen had named Saber due to its prominent fangs, was following her around the cargo hold like a devoted companion. The bond between them is remarkable, Mira observed, checking her data tablet. Saber's stress levels drop by 30% whenever Captain Chen enters the room. The creature had recovered quickly under their combined care. Its wounds were healing well, and its natural intelligence had become more apparent each day. Saber had learned to respond to Chen's voice commands and seemed to understand basic hand signals. Captain, Jorik called from the navigation station, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system. Long-range scans are detecting several planets that match the environmental requirements for Saber's species. Chen nodded, then knelt beside Saber and pointed toward the view screen showing stars ahead. "Almost home, big guy." Saber made a soft, chittering sound and gently butted its head against Chen's shoulder. Over the past 3 days, Zephyx had cataloged dozens of vocalizations and gestures that Saber used to communicate. The creature was far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. "Doctor," Chen called, "could you run one final medical scan? I want to make sure Saber is completely healthy before we release it." Zephyx approached with his scanner, no longer feeling any fear. Saber had proven to be gentle and cooperative, even playful at times. The medical examinations had become routine, with Saber positioning itself to make the scans easier. "All readings are normal," Zephyx reported. "Wounds fully healed, muscle tone excellent, brain activity showing high cognitive function. Medically, Saber is ready for release." But Zephyx noticed something in Chen's expression, a sadness that hadn't been there before. Over the past 3 days, he had watched the bond between human and creature grow stronger. They communicated in ways that seemed almost telepathic. "Captain, are you having second thoughts about the release?" he asked gently. Chen was quiet for a moment, stroking Saber's scaled head. "No, this is the right thing to do. Saber belongs with its own species, in its natural environment, but you'll miss it." "Yeah, more than I expected." Saber seemed to sense Chen's emotional state. The creature moved closer and made a low, comforting rumble while nuzzling against her arm. "The emotional connection goes both ways," Mira noted. "Saber's behavioral patterns have changed to mirror Chen's moods. When she's happy, it becomes more playful. When she's sad, like now, it tries to comfort her." "Is this normal for human-animal relationships?" Zephyx asked. "Completely normal," Chen replied. "Humans form deep emotional bonds with animals. It's one of our defining characteristics as a species. We can't help but care about creatures we spend time with." "Even dangerous predators?" "Especially them sometimes. There's something special about earning the trust of an animal that could easily harm you, but chooses not to." The ship's communication system activated. "Captain, we're receiving strange signals from the third planet," the pilot reported. "Highly organized, possibly artificial." Chen and Zephyx hurried to the bridge, with Saber following close behind. The main screen showed a blue-green planet with obvious signs of civilization, cities, transportation networks, and spacecraft in orbit. "It's inhabited," Chen said, "by Saber's species." As if understanding, Saber moved to the view screen and placed both front paws against it, making excited chirping sounds. "Saber recognizes it," Mira observed. "Look at the brain activity. Areas associated with recognition and anticipation are highly active." "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's unusual." The screen filled with the image of creatures identical to Saber, but clearly wearing some kind of technology. They were speaking in a complex language of clicks, rumbles, and musical tones. Saber immediately responded with similar vocalizations. The creatures on screen became visibly excited, and their replies grew more animated. "They're talking to each other," Chen said in amazement. "Saber is actually communicating with its own people." The conversation continued for several minutes, with Saber becoming increasingly animated. Finally, the creatures on screen made what sounded like formal statements before ending the transmission. "What just happened?" Zephyx asked. Before Chen could answer, new ships appeared on their sensors, sleek vessels that were clearly of the same design as those around the planet. "We're being approached by 6 ships," the pilot reported. "They're not showing any aggressive intent." Chen looked at Saber, who was making happy rumbling sounds. "I think we're about to meet Saber's family." An hour later, Zephyx found himself in the strangest diplomatic meeting of his career. The Saber's people, who called themselves the Cathara, had come aboard to retrieve their lost member. They were indeed identical to Saber, but wore elegant biomechanical devices that enhanced their natural abilities. The leader, who identified itself as Harmony Singer of the Deep Currents, communicated through a translation device while also using the natural vocalizations that Saber had demonstrated. "We are grateful beyond measure," the leader said to Chen. "Young Saber of the Wandering Star was lost during a territorial dispute with the Void Hunters of the Outer System. We feared it was dead." "We're just glad we found Saber in time," Chen replied. "It's an honor to meet your people." "You have shown great courage and wisdom," Harmony Singer continued. "Most species flee from us in fear. You saw past our predator nature to the person within." Zephyx watched as Saber moved between Chen and its own people, clearly torn between two different attachments. "Your species intrigues us," another Cathara said to Chen. "We have encountered many galactic civilizations, but none who could form bonds with us as you have done." "Humans have always been good with animals," Chen said modestly. "We are not animals," Harmony Singer replied, but without offense. "We are fully sentient beings with advanced technology and complex social structures. Yet you treated Saber with the same compassion you would show to any injured creature. This speaks well of your species' character." As the formal exchanges continued, Zephyx realized he was witnessing something historic. The Cathara were clearly an advanced civilization that had remained hidden because other species feared their predatory appearance. Humans had succeeded in making contact where others had failed. Finally, it came time for Saber to leave. The young Cathara approached Chen one last time and made a series of complex vocalizations. "Saber says," Harmony Singer translated, "that you will always be remembered as the gentle hunter who heals. It is a title of great honor among our people." Chen knelt down and embraced Saber's massive head one final time. "Take care of yourself, big guy. Stay out of trouble." Saber made a soft, sad sound, but followed its people toward their ship. At the airlock, it turned back and made one final vocalization. "What did it say?" Chen asked. Harmony Singer's translation device conveyed a note of emotion. "Until the stars bring us together again, friend of my heart." After the Cathara ships departed, Zephyx found Chen standing alone in the cargo hold, looking at the spot where Saber had recovered. "No regrets?" he asked. Chen smiled, though her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "None. That's what love is. Wanting what's best for someone even when it means letting them go." "Captain Chen," Zephyx said formally, "what I've witnessed over these past few days has changed my understanding of interspecies relations. Your species has a gift that could revolutionize how the galaxy approaches contact with unknown civilizations." "Maybe," Chen replied. "But honestly, we just try to see the person behind the appearance. Every creature, no matter how scary it looks, has thoughts, feelings, and needs. If you approach with respect instead of fear, amazing things can happen." As their ship departed the Cathara system, Zephyx began composing his report. It would be unlike anything the Galactic Veterinary Council had ever received. He was documenting not just a successful medical treatment, but the discovery that humans possessed an unprecedented ability to bridge the gap between species through empathy and understanding. The report would eventually lead to humans being invited to serve as interspecies diplomats and mediators throughout the galaxy. But for now, Zephyx simply watched the stars and marveled at how a simple act of compassion had opened entirely new possibilities for galactic cooperation. Sometimes the most dangerous-looking predator really was just frightened. And sometimes it took a human to see past the fear to the friend waiting underneath.